So here's the last part of my theory, but this part is something that the current me came up with, not the past me. And it's something that I did not realize until much later in the episodes. And it was probably for the best, because if I did realize this, I would not have reacted as intensely as I did. So here it is. When I was looking at my most popular videos, this particular one stuck out to me. The one where it says, "Uzube, you're scaring me." I thought it was getting that episode was very mediocre to me personally. When I recorded, I was thinking, not much happened. It's okay. I mean, there was just one part, but it's mainly like whatever. And so I titled it that. But it's now one of the most popular videos in my playthrough, and I'm like, why? Why is that? And so I started thinking maybe it's more to it. And then when I watched the scene again, I was thinking, wait a minute. The background, the tone of voice. I now know somebody who is associated with that, who I associate it with whenever they appear. That's M. I did think that before I started episode 63, but it was more like a possibility. I didn't think it was that, I didn't think it was that important. But if I had zeroed in on a certain fact in this scene, this would have changed my playthrough. M says in this scene, Gearsy. The one thing I was thinking, there were two things I was thinking that could separate Uzume from M. One was their appearance, but we've already seen M change into Noir, so that was thrown out. But their main appearance, like when they, I'll say more. I've say more about that in a later episode, but for right now, that's unimportant. The main thing, though, was Uzume's memories, of course. Uzume and M should act differently. They act differently, but also their memories are different. But when Uzume said Gearsy, or M said Gearsy, I was thinking, wait, or Nepsy, she said Nepsy. I was thinking, how does she know that? The only way she would know that is if she was the original, but that doesn't make sense. And so that's when I started panicking and thinking of a theory that Uzume was captured and M absorbed her knowledge somehow and was taking on the form for, like, if you guys have seen the end of my episode, which I'm not sure, I think maybe like a handful of you have, but I would have explained all of that. But if I look at this scene and I assume that this is M, it makes sense. I would have then, when she said that, I wouldn't have reacted at all, pretty much, because I would have think, yep, somebody already told me she was coming, and I would have known that she can look like Uzume, and that she knows Neptune and Nepgear by those names. So then the question remains, well, how does she come up with those names? Well, she is Uzume, right? And if my theory is correct, and she is the hyperdimension version, she is Uzume. And even more so, she's either, if she is the person, the CPU that came before them, she's either their mother or their sister. Which I did not even pick up on that fact either. So the name Nepsy and Gearsy could almost be like nicknames for, family members. Like literally, that is their family member. Which makes it even more, this is why when I reacted the way I did, whenever M showed up, I always thought she was the hyperdimension version. I was like, why are you doing this? Like, the betrayal seems almost worse because it's their family, Well, we'll see. What I thought happened is that somehow M was transported to another dimension. She could have been transported to the 0 dimension, but since somebody actually had let it slip that the area that they're in is called the heart dimension, or there's something that exists, the heart dimension, so she could have been transported to that place. Maybe CPUs die, and when they die, I don't know. No, I don't think. The main thing I'm thinking about is that Noir and Blonde did not know their predecessors. And it's implied because Neptune and Nepgear did not recognize Uzume. If she is their predecessor and they did not see her, or they did not recognize her, that means that either she looks that different or they never met their predecessor, or Neptune never met her predecessor. And yet we know it's a possibility because you have siblings right now in the CPUs. So what it looks like what happened is that there was a kind of cleansing of the CPUs, which M could have been the culprit. I'm not sure, but clearly something happened with M that didn't happen with Uzume. One of the things being that Uzume lost her memory, M did not. But while Uzume's in an apocalyptic world, Eastwar could have been one of the ones who, stopped M, especially with how powerful she is, or it could have been the other CPUs who were ruling at that time. I'm not sure. But regardless, that's the main point that I missed. If I had realized that point, I would not have been surprised at all during episode 63. And my reaction wouldn't have been much one at all. Because I would have been like, yeah, well, I expected this. I knew she was coming, and I knew that she could look like this, and that she could call Neptune and Nepgear and Nepsy and Gearsy. So, anywho, I wanted to make that point across. Yeah.